Hey guys, welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is The Daily Show. We give you all the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Leading off the show today is Mark Ellis.
Welcome one and all to the best movie news show in the entire galaxy. My name is Mark, thank you. I am proud of my haircut as well. We are going to have a whole lot of fun here today in anticipation of our Back to the Future screening tonight at ArcLight in Hollywood. On today's program, we got a brand new Annihilation trailer. Alex Garland's movie just dropped. We'll be getting to that in just a little bit. Plus, is Miles Morales in the MCU? Will Leonardo DiCaprio speak softly and carry a big stick? And we have an exclusive early reaction from Blade Runner 2049. Speaking of Blade Runner, somebody saw the original last night. Ooh, and we're going to talk about it once we get into Blade Runner. I digress. Ashley, there's people joining me today. They are human beings with actual names.
That they are. One of them is Dennis Zen.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Back to the Future. I mean, I've seen it many, many times, but this is actually going to be the first time I'm going to see it on the big screen. And ArcLight has great projection system and a great sound system.
The Power of Love is going to sound so good.
Also here, John Rocha.
Yeah, we're going back to the 80s, right? What's old is new again. We got Mark Ellis looking like Marty McFly, and we got Ashley with Ma Adidas. Anyway, there you go.
There you go.
Little Run DMC
I did
reference.
not get that reference
Oh
at
my
all.
God.
Also here, Jon Schnepp.
Yeah, you were just singing that Korn song, the Adidas song, right, from Korn? Hey. What's up?
There's your new camera in a different spot. Ashley is sponsored by Adidas. They gave her $100,000 to play college basketball. Ashley, let's talk about our first topic and somebody named Miles.
Yeah, it's a little scandalous. Earlier this year, Spider-Man Homecoming hit theaters to positive reviews that have led to the movie being the top-grossing superhero movie of 2017. The film introduced Peter Parker's Spider-Man into the MCU, but there was another reference to another Spidey, that being through the introduction of Donald Glover's character, Aaron Davis, the uncle to Miles Morales, Marvel's newest Spider-Man, who took up Peter Parker's role in the Ultimate Comics. Now, in a newly leaked deleted scene from the forthcoming Homecoming Blu-ray, Donald Glover is featured in the scene calling home and saying, "I'm sorry, Miles, I'm not going to make it." With that clear mention mark, does this officially make Miles Morales part of the MCU?
I love these kind of questions because, as a wise man would say, it gets us all sweaty talking about what is canon, what is not canon in the greater MCU. This is Sony's universe, but Spider-Man is in the MCU now. Is this meaning another Spider-Man is in the MCU? And I would tend to say no, but I would be up for this if this was considered canon, because this is a deleted scene that's going to be on the Blu-ray. And I know that a lot of times we love collecting these Blu-rays because they have additional content, things that we did not see in the theatrical cut, whether that means an alternate ending or just a fun little outtake. We don't know the context of this. This is a leaked scene that since has been pulled, but it will in fact be on the Spider-Man Homecoming Blu-ray. I want to go right to the horse's mouth there, Schnepp. Do you think that this means it's canon in the world of Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Yes and no. I mean, well, they introduced Glover, and he's going to probably be the Prowler. So my guess is that it's, halfway canon. Because since it's a deleted scene, it's not official. So, as they delete a bunch of characters from movies, we keep hearing about, characters are going to be in a movie, characters are not going to be in a movie. Ultimately, the film is what is canon. All the deleted scenes are not. So since it's a deleted scene, I'd say they still have the decision-making power to not include Miles. But I think Glover signed on so he could be the Prowler. They've already referenced a lot of things. So my guess is you'll be seeing Miles Morales in the MCU Spider-Man universe very soon.
Well, it's a fair point that you make because we do have a big step in that direction, Dennis, because if, we already have Donald Glover as confirmed being in the movie, we saw him in the movie, whether he actually becomes the Prowler and walks down that comic book lineage is another question that I think we will get in future movies. But Kevin Feige's also been hinting that we might get a Miles Morales. He did that as many as a few months ago. Do you think that we should go ahead and consider this canon, or do you think we have to pump the brakes on our excitement here?
Yeah, I'd pump the brakes. I don't consider this canon because it's a deleted scene. There's a lot of deleted scenes, a lot of alternate endings. I mean, this is a totally different universe, but if you consider the View Askew universe that Kevin Smith created, the alternate ending for Clerks, I forgot Dante. he dies at the end, and then they have Clerks 2, and he wants to do Clerks 3. So I don't consider this. This is more of an Easter egg. I think they wanted, if they had kept it in there, I think it would have left the door open for Miles Morales, because they don't say Miles Morales, they just say Miles, and of course, like, Donald Glover's character is his uncle, and they're just leaving that door open so that if they want to, they can go to it, but they don't have to, because they can always go like, well, that wasn't really Miles Morales, that was somebody else.
Rocha, you know, you have the term officially canon, and then you also have the term that Dennis brings up, Easter egg. I think that's more of a fair label to give this scene, because it is deleted, and as you, a big Star Wars fan, knows, we take our canon very, very seriously. So I know with Star Wars, if it's a deleted scene, it ain't canon.
Right.
But with the MCU, should it be considered canon?
Well, I think it's certainly a possibility. Why not? I mean, you've got to. The thing that people talk about is superhero fatigue, right? But what studios are doing now is expanding these properties, exploring the ways to keep these things afloat. So what studios also always do is float trial balloons. What is people's reaction? Are people excited for a Miles Morales movie, seeing that we're talking about it as our lead story on Movie Talk today? Yes, people are excited to see Miles Morales. People love this character from the comic books. And I think Dennis is right. He's on the right point here by saying they had Aaron Davis, they bring the character in. He is going to be the Prowler, I think, too, John. And so this is going to happen. And now you open the door. The fact you even cast Aaron and put this character in the Spider-Man means that they're certainly thinking about it and want to explore the possibility of what the reaction would be. My thing is, I think we got to let's establish this was a great Spider-Man movie. So a lot of people consider, I think Mark Riley considers it the best Spider-Man movie. So let's have another one, then explore, branching this out. And also, because this is a crossover with Sony, does this mean Miles could show up in Venom, could show up in a Sinister Six movie? There's a lot of options here that we can play with. So I'm excited about it. I think it's great. But until they officially say Miles Morales is in it, then they're just messing with our feelings for now, our sweaty feelings. And that's okay, because we like to be excited about things like this. But I just want to see a little more certain confirmation for them before I get too excited.
Yeah, Dennis, I think that one of the things that Marvel's been very good at is once they have a line, they really take it. They don't throw a lot of things at us that don't end up paying off. So I think the question is not whether or not Miles Morales is canon, it's whether he's canon right now or if he's canon but not yet. The door has been open, so are you up for seeing Miles Morales sooner rather than later, just as a fan of Spider-Man?
I actually would prefer later, just because we did get this reboot. Now we have Spider-Man part of the MCU, and I think they need to explore more with Tom Holland, the Peter Parker Spider-Man first, and establish that, because we already had Tobey Maguire 3 movies, Andrew Garfield 2 movies. We haven't got Tom Holland even in 2 movies yet, so let's explore that later down the line.
Yeah, Schnepp, is it too early for us to be teased, or can you be teased too early with something as precious to a lot of folks as the Miles Morales character?
Well, I'm on a low drip sweat medium right now. It's like, sweat is not flowing yet. But if you hear about Miles Morales perhaps being in the second Spider-Man Homecoming film, I'd be excited about it. I don't want to see him putting on the outfit yet. I want to see Spider-Man as the 4th movie. I want to see 3 Spider-Man films with Tom Holland until we get to that next, passing baton, or they both team up. Like in the comic books, now they've met each other and they've teamed up, which is great. I'd like to see that a little bit later, but I don't have any problem introducing him as a kid. So
he's just a little juicy right now, folks. Jon Schnepp is at Starburst level. He hasn't metamorphosized into a gusher just yet. Rocha, you do want to see a Miles Morales character eventually.
Yeah, I do, absolutely. And we know from the comics, right? Peter Parker dies, then Miles takes over. But now, of course, they've had them meet. They're still alive. So I agree with John. I think a partnership, which we've never seen in any Spider-Man movie, where we see 2 Spider-Men in a movie, would be a great way to announce how different this reboot is than anything that's come before, right? The one before with Andrew Garfield, they tried that, making him mysterious, and his dad had these things going on. Didn't really 100% work. But this, great start, and you laid another groundwork, and you introduce Miles. Maybe he doesn't put on the costume in the 2nd film, and in the 3rd film, somehow he becomes a Spider-Man, and then you have the Spider-Man, and I think people lose their mind. We wanted that with Batman vs. Superman. I think we'd actually get it correct in this version of it down the line.
Yeah, I think that just as fans as a whole, and I'm as guilty of this as much as anybody, is that we sometimes take canon a little too seriously, but by the letter of the law, if it is in the movie, it's obviously canon. If it is a post-credit scene, it is still canon. So, whatever we saw from Captain America and Spider-Man Homecoming, that actually happened. But if it's a deleted scene, I gotta go with it is not canon yet. It's a fun thing for us to banter and talk about. It's something that I speculate will become canon. We're just not there yet. Let's move on to a topic we are there yet with. Apparently, Martin Scorsese and Leo DiCaprio, they're good friends, right, Ash?
Yeah, they are. Deadline is reporting that Roosevelt, a dramatic movie about Teddy Roosevelt, has been set up at Paramount with Leonardo DiCaprio starring and Martin Scorsese directing. The movie is said to feature Roosevelt's event-filled life that will center on his military exploits and his political track, where he moved from New York governor to vice president to becoming the youngest president when President William McKinley was assassinated in 1901. The movie will be written by Scott Bloom with a release date not yet determined. Rocha, thoughts on a Roosevelt biopic starring Leonardo DiCaprio, directed by Martin Scorsese?
I couldn't be more excited for this. I'm a political junkie, grew up in D.C. Theodore Roosevelt is my favorite president, bar none, by miles.
Shots fired.
There's so much. Not screw that FDR guy. No. There's so much. There's so much involved in his life. And if you ever seen the PBS documentary that they did on him, it's fantastic. If you've ever read the Edmund Morris books, specifically Theodore Rex, it's fantastic. His story. He was a sickly child. He had to fight for life. His father made him lift weights. His father made him do all this kind of stuff, and he fought his way back. And then on the night when he becomes this incredible congressman, he loses both his wife and his mother on the same night and has to fight back against that. Goes out into the wilderness, becomes this frontiersman. When he's a rich, pampered, spoiled kid, he challenges himself, then comes back and fights back and becomes this incredible president and does incredible things all over the world for years. So for me, I'm super excited about this. I want to see what DiCaprio can do with this. He wouldn't be my first choice, so I'd like to see how he transforms into Teddy Roosevelt. You know, Teddy Roosevelt had a very high-pitched voice. He is not what we saw in the Looney Tunes cartoons. He had a high-pitched voice, and so there's going to be interesting characterizations done there, and there's not a lot of audio of him around, so I think it'll be fascinating to see what him and Scorsese can do with this. And this excites me more than a Scorsese Joker movie with Todd Phillips. This excites me more because there's a lot to play with here. So I hope they use the Edmund Morris books. He's written 3 on Theodore Roosevelt as the basis for these movies. So
yeah, DiCaprio is just a huge fan of the early part of the 1900s.
Yeah.
I mean, whether he's playing J. Edgar or now he's going to be doing Teddy, or when he was in The Great Gatsby, when he was stealing jewelry and growing paints, most of that jewelry was from the early 1900s. He clearly has an affinity for this period in history. Then obviously working with Martin Scorsese, Dennis, that's a no-brainer regardless of what the subject matter is. It could be Leo DiCaprio and Martin Scorsese, and they're just framing up Leo taking a nap in a hammock for a couple hours, and I'm on board with it because he fully commits to everything he does. Even when the project might be considered a misfire, like what J. Edgar was, I think that Scorsese and DiCaprio working together, they are each other's muse at this point, and so we might have another Oscar contender on our hands, but more importantly, a very fascinating exploration into Rocha's favorite president.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this. This is, I think, the 5th film they're going to work together with. We all know that Scorsese worked with De Niro for a long time. I think they did about 9 films, so they're more than halfway there. And with the director-actor combinations, when they work because you get comfortable with the director and an actor together, and then also they challenge each other to go further. So he may not be the first choice when you think of Teddy Roosevelt, but I think he's the type of actor that's going to push himself to get there. And people forget also, when he first came onto Gangs of New York, he was still Leonardo DiCaprio from Titanic and Romeo and Juliet. In his work, he was already a talented actor. It was just he had that stigma attached to him. But his work with Scorsese is what kind of brought him over to that more Oscar buzz type films.
Jon Schnepp, you like DiCaprio taking on this particular role of Teddy?
Yeah, I was hoping that Joker thing would happen. Just kidding. No, this is great
It could
news.
still happen. I mean, the guy's going to be working for a long time.
I think DiCaprio's great doing these biopics. I mean, my favorite of his was when he played Howard Hughes.
Yeah,
as
The Aviator.
So I mean, I think he's got a good touch. I think he's an incredible actor, and him teaming up with Scorsese, what's not to like about it? So I think everyone's covered the bases. I'll be the last guy to be like, yeah.
You think they're going to get into some of the Rough Rider stuff, Rocha? I mean, is that something that you want to see covered, or more of a personal journey of him becoming president?
No, I think the Rough Rider stuff is important because that's when he really started to understand his power over men and his power to lead men. And when you read the stuff about that, you see what he did. And yes, some of it was for show, some of it was for to get people gone behind him. But there's also stuff that he challenges himself. Like if you read this book, there's a book out now where they detail his exploration of the Amazon with his son. It is intense. And this is the kind of person he was. He was a person who constantly challenged himself, constantly explored new environments to see if he could handle it. And that's a great lesson for a lot of us in the world now. We seem to be comfortable. We seem to be apathetic. This is a man who pushed through boundaries, constantly challenged himself, never sat on his laurels, and always was pushing for something more. So I say bully to this. Absolutely.
One of the weird trivia explorations I love doing is what presidents around this time in history ate for breakfast. People crushed breakfast back in the early 1900s. Teddy would actually have a bunch of hard-boiled eggs and a crap ton of rolls, freshly baked rolls every morning. You know who followed him in the White House?
Taft.
Yeah, and boy, could that guy eat breakfast.
Yes.
More on that. I don't know, on my Instagram or something like that. All right, we have a very special segment that we're proud to introduce to you guys because Blade Runner 2049 hits theaters next weekend. The actual review embargo is not quite up. However, the social media embargo is up. And for that, we bring in the creator of Collider.com. Ladies and gentlemen, he is here with us today. Stephen Frosty Weintraub, everybody. Right over there.
It's very nice of you.
I am very nice to the people who keep me employed. Stephen, do you, first of all, before we actually get into Blade Runner 2049, you have had a chance to watch the movie, I believe, twice. What is the difference between, what are you allowed to say because the social media embargo has lifted, but the full review has not? So how in-depth can we get? Obviously, we're not going to give away any spoilers at all. What can we talk about here?
We can talk about the movie being good. And I think that's about it. I think that's
well, thanks for joining us today,
right, exactly.
Steve.
I'm out. No, I mean, the review embargo is lifting Monday morning, and that's when people can actually get into the plot and talk about the specifics of the film. The social embargo is sort of similar to like what Marvel does and a lot of other studios where you can talk about what you thought in very general terms without revealing anything. And they usually lift the embargo sooner, earlier, like this, when they're confident in the final product, if you will. And if you looked on Twitter yesterday or Facebook, the overall consensus is that Blade Runner 2049 is just a fantastic sci-fi masterpiece. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, one of the things that you did tweet, because I have your Twitter feed right in front of me, is that you do not have to have seen the original Blade Runner to watch Blade Runner 2049, but it will make the film better. As somebody who literally just watched the final cut last night and really enjoyed it. The embargo was up for that one. Really got into it. I found it very interesting that you feel like people don't need to go back and see the original one to still have a good time with this one.
Listen, I think that you can absolutely watch this new one without having seen it. However, there are absolutely things that will, do you understand what a replicant is? Without having seen the original. Do you know the Harrison Ford character? I think that you will absolutely enjoy 2049 infinitely more having seen the original, but the new one explains everything and tells a story in a way that you can follow. But it absolutely helps to have seen the original.
Yeah, it seems like Denis Villeneuve, and I've said this before, I love the confidence that he brought to the panel that he did at Comic-Con with some of the cast there, because they asked him why he wanted to do Blade Runner, a sequel to Blade Runner. He said because he didn't want anybody else to F it up. I mean, but you should have a lot of confidence when you're bringing along a cinematographer like Roger Deakins. That must have been one of the standouts of this new movie, is the way that Deakins' eye for having the sci-fi background that he does really probably lent something special.
Denis and Roger worked from the ground floor when they were when the script was being written, when everything was being put together. They were working as a team to figure out the laws of the universe, the color spectrum. They use color in the movie to help tell the story. Even if you have no interest in seeing Blade Runner 2049, the cinematography by Roger Deakins is worth the price of admission. It's just unbelievable, and it reminds you why you want to go to the movies. It's really stunning.
Yeah, according to you on Twitter, that this movie is a huge home run, but I'm going to kind of pull a 180 on us right now, because another tweet that you did have was that if you want to see Blade Runner 2049, you should avoid the video reviews of it until you actually get a chance to see the movie. Is it just because it's so chock full of things that could be spoiled by a movie reviewer who's not being careful?
There is no way to talk about this movie without spoiling the movie. Literally, the plot of the movie is a spoiler, and it's just one of these films where, and I think we all agree, like if you're going to go see something that has a lot of spoilers in it, if you see the review, you just have to talk about it, right? Like, I would strongly recommend just watching this as soon as you can, before anyone can talk to you about it, and then watching the reviews and hearing what other people think about, what you have seen. But I'm telling you, this one is like, it's loaded. Left and right.
You do want to be trepidatious about watching reviews. Make sure you check out the Collider review and the Schmoes review. They're going to be up next week. They're going to have no spoilers whatsoever. We do a really good job. Steve, because we're lucky enough to have you here in studio, I do want to ask you, because I know you're a guy that is in the know. You get a chance to check out a lot of movies months before they're released. You were at TIFF. Is there anything in particular that you can give us kind of a warning shot about as the movies that we should be excited to check out closer to the end of fall?
Absolutely. For people that don't know, TIFF stands for the Toronto International Film Festival. Matt Goldberg, Adam Chitwood, and I went and attended for the .com. If you're interested in Oscar and award stuff, Adam wrote up a great article on the site that basically goes into the chances of all these films with Oscar and award stuff. But absolutely, Guillermo del Toro's The Shape of Water is unbelievable. I think everyone has been hearing about it, but I will confirm it's unbelievable. Call Me by Your Name is going to be up for Oscar stuff. It's just one of my favorite films of the year. There's a film by Craig Gillespie that stars Margot Robbie, who the audience knows as Harley Quinn. It's called I, Tonya. It's going to be coming out December 8th. It is nothing short of unbelievable, and Allison Janney, who plays her mom, is absolutely just jaw-droppingly amazing. And if you think right now, I don't need to see a Tonya Harding movie, I know the story, this is a waste of time, I thought that. And I'm like, this can't be good. And it was easily one of the best of the fest. Craig directed the S out of it. It's like Scorsese helmed some of these sequences. It's unbelievable. And Margot Robbie, it's like her best role. It's just unbelievable. And listen, this is the movie season where this is the time of year where everything starts getting really good. And, off camera, I was mentioning some stuff I saw last night that I embargoed for now, but just everything I'm seeing right now has been so good. But Shape of Water, top of the list. Call Me by Your Name, I, Tonya. Those three films are like just truly unbelievable.
Wow. Okay, there's a lot of stuff to look forward to. I had fun with this segment. You should come back and be like a regular kind of contributor and give us some tidbits and stuff like that. Are you up for that?
We'll see. Let me see if the check clears.
Oh, smart move.
I mean, my Bank of America account can only hold so much at any one given time. He is at Collider Frosty on Twitter. Make sure you're following him and check out Collider.com regularly for all the scoops that they bring us on a daily basis. With that, we move on to buy or sell. This is the part of the show where Ashley's going to give us a premise, and we'll simply say whether we buy it or sell it. The first one, Ashley, is for the trailer that we all gathered around my computer because it got the biggest charge, and we watched Annihilation, the new trailer from the movie directed by Alex Garland and starring Natalie Portman. Dan's going to throw it right to you. How do you feel about this brand new trailer?
I really liked it a lot. I mean, obviously, when you watch it, you get comparisons to Arrival. You even get visual comparisons to something like Avatar. You see Natalie Portman in the sci-fi film, and it looks like, at least from the trailer, I haven't seen the film yet, but it looks like she's actually putting forth her full effort. It doesn't. I mean, you watch. What? You're watching if you watch the prequels or even Thor. She's kind of sleepwalking through that stuff. This one looks like she's actually, going for it. And I appreciate the tone of it. I read a little bit about it and said it was based on a horror novel, which I didn't get quite that vibe in. It seemed more like a sci-fi thriller, maybe with some action in it. So maybe a second trailer down the line will show more of the horror aspects to it.
Alex Garland directed the movie, Schnepp. It's a NyQuil-free Natalie Portman, according to Dennis Zen. How do you feel about the trailer?
Well, I'll be honest. The trailer is kind of a combination of our Tarkovsky's Stalker and a little bit of that Monster. Remember that Monster, handheld, those two people walking through this kind of basin of you never see the creature kind of thing.
Yeah.
Also, it looks great. It looks to me, I love horror films. I love horror sci-fi, and that's what this feels like to me. You don't know what they're walking into, this kind of trippy, bizarre field that is filled with death and bizarre deer. I mean, what the hell is it? I mean, I don't know what it's going to be. It's like a zombie movie with no zombies. So I'm in.
Didn't the trailer feel really metaphorical to you too, though? With like Natalie Portman representing more than just somebody who's exploring a new creature or being or world that she just found. It felt, I'm not going to say Darren Aronofsky level, but obviously she was great in Black Swan that had a lot of metaphorical representation. You think we're going to get more of the same here?
Most definitely. That's why I brought up Stalker. It's like it's once you enter this field, I feel like it's gonna, whatever that is, it kind of feeds on your mind. Like you see these shots of people just kind of like weirdly hanging out, like this tranquil kind of like almost like meditative state, but yet maybe it's not a good thing. So yeah, I think it's going to be really psychological.
To quote the stoner in Dazed and Confused, Rocha, fields of that stuff.
Yeah.
Fields of that stuff. How do you feel about Annihilation?
It looks incredible. Like I'm so excited for this because it has that horror vibe. I thought because the score let you know that it was a horror vibe, and Tessa Thompson's look of fear, which is once again great cast here. And Oscar Isaac returns into this film. He was in Ex Machina as well. Gina Rodriguez is in this, and of course Natalie Portman, who's been doing great work recently. Dennis, Black Swan.
Oh no, she was
great working, isn't it?
I loved her in Black Swan. I loved her in Jackie. Jackie wasn't
Yeah.
that great of a movie, but
Right.
her performance was fantastic. I'm saying that sometimes she puts forth the effort, sometimes she does not. So, and this one looks like she is.
Yeah, and that area is called Area X, and it's supposedly nature returning back to Earth in some weird, crazy ways. At least it's not The Happening, so I'm happy about that. So we'll see what this is going to be, because that last scene of that thing next to her, and you can like, it looks creepy as hell. So I can't wait for it.
Yeah, I don't know whether to trust that thing or not, but it starts growing on her arm, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? Huge buy for me as well. Fun fact, Natalie Portman and Oscar Isaac, they're both in Star Wars movies. All right, let's move on to our next buy or sell. I'm full of facts today, Ashley.
According to Deadline, Phil Lord and Christopher Miller have finally found their next directing project and have signed on to direct and develop Artemis, a novel by the Martian author Andy Weir. The project is a big priority over at 20th Century Fox, who will distribute, and is described as an adrenaline-charged crime caper centering on Jazz, a 20-something woman living in the small town of Artemis, the first and only city on the moon. The book will be published on November 17th by Crown, with Lord and Miller working with the studio to set a writer to turn the new sci-fi entry into a feature script. A release date has not been set. Schnepp, buy or sell Lord and Miller's next directing project in Artemis?
Big buy. I'm a sci-fi nerd. This reminds me of Outland with Sean Connery. I'm 100% into anything on the moon. I'm going to watch. That's just how it goes. If it's moon base, I don't care if it's Leonardo DiCaprio sleeping with Scorsese filming him on the moon. I'm going to watch it. So anything moon based, like I said, just put moon in the title. I'm watching it.
Yeah, it's a buy for me, too. I mean, for a lot of the reasons that Schnepp just highlighted, but also simply because the way that Artemis is being described is that it's very science and fact-based as far as the living conditions that you would have on a colony like this, but then you also have the great storytelling ability and the comedic sensibilities of a Lord and Miller. I mean, think whatever you want about the Han Solo project, the fact that they didn't jive with Lucasfilm, who Lucasfilm, to be fair, has a very specific vision of what they wanted for that, and they had a very specific script they were working off of. If you give these guys the freedom to do what they want to do with Artemis, I think you're going to get something that's really, really special. How do you feel, Rocha?
Yeah, absolutely. I buy this completely. I mean, coming off that Star Wars thing, you got to shake that off quickly and move on to the next thing. This is a great thing to walk into. This is the second novel from Andy Weir. People loved The Martian, and from what I'm reading about it, it's set on the moon, obviously, and it's the moon has 1/6 of the Earth's gravity, which means people can run faster, jump higher on the moon. So basically, it's almost like a pseudo superhero film, and people talked about them directing Flash possibly next. So there's a lot of things to play with here, which I'm excited about. And there's a lot of references to Artemis being the Greek goddess of the moon, and then Apollo is involved because it's based on the Apollo. There's some Apollo missions, and Apollo was the twin brother of Artemis. So there's a lot to explore here, and the character is a kind of a younger character who gets involved in this huge shadowy conspiracy that's going on this city, on the only city on the moon with 2,000 people on it. That's all. So there's a lot. There's going to be a lot of fun, I think, to have here. Lord Miller, again, they will bring their personal style of joke and action to this film, and I think it'll make it fun.
1/6 of the Earth's gravity. I don't mean to brag, but can you imagine what my box jumps are going to be on the moon? Dennis, do you think that this is the right project for Lord and Miller to be taking on, coming off of the disappointment of the Han Solo news?
Yeah, I'm going to buy this. I mean, they were also rumored to be coming back to the Flash project, which Robert Zemeckis is the front runner for. But now that they're taking this, that's off the table. I think it's a good move because, one, I think it's a good fit because you have Andy Weir who wrote The Martian, which had a lot of humor in it, and Lord and Miller, which we know can do humor very well. And also, I think they're out to prove something. They're out to after being taken off the Han Solo project, and people, what was that thing about it being too like Ace Ventura or something. Yeah. I think they want to prove that they can do a sci-fi film and do it right. I mean, of course, there's going to be humor in it, just based on the writing. I heard that the character is very sarcastic, much like the character in The Martian, and I'm sure these guys can bring that out. But also, I think they want to prove that they can do the action side, the sci-fi side to it.
Yeah, I think that anytime an artist or somebody who's creative has a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, I like what the odds are for their next project being something very, very good. So we'll look forward to Artemis, and we have one more buy or sell. It's like we're leaving a movie theater, Ashley, and we turn to look at the posters for upcoming movies. What are we seeing?
Ooh, we're going to see a good one. Legendary Pictures and Universal have released the first set of posters for Pacific Rim Uprising, featuring John Boyega, Scott Eastwood, and some of the new Jaegers that will be featured in the film. Directed by Daredevil Stephen Eston Knight, Pacific Rim Uprising takes place 10 years since the Battle of the Breach, where the Jaeger program has evolved into the most powerful global defense force in human history. When the kaiju threat returns, the PPDC calls upon the best and brightest to rise up and become the next generation of heroes. Pacific Rim Uprising hits theaters and IMAX on March 23rd, 2018. Dennis, buy or sell the new posters for Pacific Rim Uprising?
I'm going to buy these posters. Everyone knows I'm a huge fan of Pacific Rim. I'm not like dying over these posters. They kind of have a fitness sports vibe to them with the color scheme. I'm expecting them to show off their shoes next. What I like most about these is that it's tangible evidence that the movie is coming. We saw that promo video. It wasn't like a real trailer at San Diego Comic-Con. Right. I'm dying to see a new kind of real trailer, which we know they're going to show at New York Comic-Con, which, by the way, we're all going to be at next week. We're going to be streaming the panels there. We're going to be covering all this stuff. We're doing all kinds of crazy stuff at New York Comic-Con. But I'm excited for it. That mainly just because this is like more evidence that this is actually happening.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you look at the posters, and I don't think the middle one could have been timed any better with all the protests that you see in the news with the rise up, the words, the fist in the air. I like that, the fist of the Jaeger, and then the ones on the side. That's like what Dennis said, it had a very athletic feel to it, but it also is highlighting the fact that these are humans that are inside the Jaegers. So maybe you get a little bit more character development, a little more of an emotional connection in this one. But bottom line is, I'm with Dennis. I'm excited that we get to see these posters. I really enjoyed the first Pacific Rim for everything that it did try to bring to the table and succeed at. And I think that we might even get something a little more in-depth with this new one, John Rocha.
Yeah. Listen, everyone knows Dennis and I's biggest fight is Transformers vs. Pacific Rim. That's just how it works. These posters look fantastic. I know I get the sports vibe, absolutely, but that Rise Up poster is badass. If I was a younger guy, I would consider framing that thing and hanging it in my apartment.
Why, you can't do it now?
No.
You're too old to hang stuff?
No, the ladies don't look good at that stuff. So, and like next to my neon beer sign, it's no good. Listen, Rise Up, this looks awesome, and it gets me, as someone who wasn't a fan of the first film at all, it gets me excited to see if this is going to be a different take, a different point of view, and a different approach to this. It might flesh this out a little more, make it more exciting and connectable for a guy like me. So I love this poster, and I love the shot of Boyega there right in front. Looks badass. So that's what you want to accomplish if you're coming back with a film like this. You want to get people excited again about a new take on this.
Yeah, get excited about it. Until Vicky actually moves in with you and tells you what you can have on the walls, don't worry about it. Did I just give away a spoiler? Jon Schnepp, how do you feel about the new Pacific Rim poster?
Well, Rocha, if you hang it next to your Gatorade light-up sign, I think it would work great. You'd be like, oh, that's what I'm very thirsty. I think I would buy it if it came free with like a fruit punch Gatorade.
There you go.
I'm drinking it and I'm looking at this. To me, it doesn't really speak Pacific Rim. I'm a big fan of the film too, but you're right, you nailed it for me. It does look like not Pacific Rim. It would fall more in line with Starship Troopers if it was a joke poster. That's how it feels to me. It feels like Rise Up with the weird spray painting. It's just too, like an art director was like, graphic design sprinkles of like, I don't know, it needs some little more dripping. Can we have the shadow? You know, everyone has that shadow of a character in the middle. They're boring. I sell them.
I think that it could have used a little bit more color, not as much as a certain young man's shirt sitting next to me, but I think that they could have used, and I'm not going for like the Thor Ragnarok, the huge neon pastel look, but could have used a little more color. I'm still buying the posters as a whole. Very excited about Pacific Rim, and as Dennis alluded to, yes, we are going to be at New York Comic Con, and we will be live streaming all of the top panels from New York Comic Con right here on Collider Video. We also have a couple panels to let you guys know about. The Heroes Live panel hosted by the very colorful shirt-wearing Jon Schnepp is going to be on Friday. That's October 6th, 12:15 p.m. in room 1A24. And then Saturday, we have the Movie Talk panel hosted by some handsome drink of water. That is Saturday at 4:15 p.m. in room 1A21. And some of the top panels that we have right in front of us that we know are going to be live streamed right here on Collider Video include that Pacific Rim panel where we're hoping they drop the very first trailer that hopefully has some more color palettes in it. The Punisher, The Walking Dead, and a whole lot more. So make sure you guys are subscribed here if you're not already, and tune into Collider Video on the reg, beginning streaming Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 8 a.m. Pacific time. God, I remember when we had to get up at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
That was hard. 11 a.m. Eastern time, Thursday morning. And we do want to remind you guys that we're going to have daily TV talk and Heroes later on today on Collider Video. Tonight is the big Back to the Future screening, 7:30 p.m. ArcLight Hollywood. See if you have any tickets left. Best of luck to you. We'll be doing our Q&A beforehand, and we have Back to the Future screen, and then the meet and greet at the bar afterwards, where I am going to enjoy a nice, tall, frosty, cold IPA. Last but not least, if you go over to Collider.com right now, you have a chance to win exclusive tickets to the Brawl in Cell Block 99 screening / Q&A with Vince Vaughn. That's a Q&A that Vince Vaughn is going to be associated with. He's one of the stars of the movie. Brawl in Cell Block 99. The screening is Monday, October 2nd, so head on over to Collider.com right now for your chance to enter and win free tickets to that screening and Q&A. All right, with all that out of the way, let's move on to Mailbag. Ashley has something in our mailbox. Is it a letter? Is it a treat? Is it a prize?
Comic book god, right? Currently, Warner Brothers has Tomb Raider set for March 16, 2018, and Ready Player One set for March 30th, 2018. Do you guys think it's a smart move for them to release two of their biggest films so close to each other, or do you think one of them will move? Thanks for taking my question. Have a great day.
It's a great question. I understand why you earned that name, Comic Book Deity. I think that it's a little close right now. I mean, 2 weeks separating Tomb Raider and Ready Player One, both a lot of video game sweatiness in both of those projects, but they are very different movies. And I think the Tomb Raider is one of those ones that you really look at with a March date to do a lot of its money at the box office its first 2 weeks. And if it opens internationally around the same time, it'll probably expand to a lot of other markets. Ready Player One is not only going to play off of current video game fans, but it's also going to tug on the nostalgia and the heartstrings of a lot of previous players who maybe no longer are in the game as much. So I think they're different movies, but they are similar enough, Dennis, to where I think that 2 week time frame may not be enough breathing room. How do you see it?
I don't think they're going to make the move, just because, yes, 2 weeks is a little close, but at least it's not on the same day. 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks you get that most of your money from the opening weekend and the following weekend. So, and they do have a little bit of a crossover audience, but with Ready Player One, it's kind of that nostalgia of the 80s. Plus, I think that might be a little more kid-friendly centric, where Tomb Raider, they're going to try and go for the teen and young adult audience.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. I mean, I really liked that Tomb Raider trailer that we got to see. The Ready Player One footage I saw at Comic-Con was amongst the best footage I saw there all weekend. Jon Schnepp.
Yeah, I hope they don't move. I think that's great. Both of them, those films opening in March sounds great. I mean, it's enough space, like Dennis said, for both films to get that double box office those 2 weekends, and Tomb Raider will just continue to make money. Even though Ready Player One gets released, it'll just be that fall off. Like, oh, let's see Tomb Raider because Ready Player One is sold out. I personally can't wait for Ready Player One. That's a movie that I'm really jacked up to see. So I think it's great that they're both coming out in March too. So.
Yeah, what's really interesting is that if you look in between that date, so it's really like the summer kicks off in March here, Rocha, because you have Tomb Raider March 16th, Ready Player One March 30th. In between that, March 23rd, a little movie that just had a poster drop called Pacific Rim. it's going to get competitive.
Yeah, and it's interesting because usually we talk about studios competing with each other for release dates. So it's interesting to have two very powerful movies coming out in the same month within 2 weeks of each other. I'd be more comfortable if this was if Tomb Raider was coming out the first week of March and then Ready Player One the last week of March, because you don't want to affect your box office on either movie. But you know, you're right. We start early. We start early now. Almost every year over the last few years, we've been starting at March as the summer season and lasting into September. So this is an interesting choice by them. I do think one of them is going to move at some point, but I don't anticipate it'll be an issue necessarily to move it, because I don't even know if they're done with reshoots on Tomb Raider or Ready Player One. And you're right, Mark. That stuff coming out of Comic-Con, I don't know why it got a backlash. I absolutely love that footage, and some people went online and had a backlash, so I don't get it.
Hey, Mark, before we get to live Twitter questions, let me ask you a question. We didn't really get into that Blade Runner that you saw yesterday. You saw that you saw the final cut.
Final cut.
You kind of through it over to Frosty really quick.
Yeah.
You said you liked it. Being a big Blade Runner fan myself,
yeah.
I was talking about it for years now, waiting to see your reaction to a film that I love. I just want to hear a little bit more, maybe 15 seconds, 30 seconds of what your take on that Blade Runner, your reaction to it.
What, do you have to pee or something? Am I killing time right now until we get to
actually, I do have to pee, but I'm going to
Yeah.
sit here and wait. While
I saw the final cut. I thought that every frame in this movie was like a little poem. I thought visually the movie was so stunning for something that came out way back in 1982. It's great to see Harrison Ford. Like, Harrison Ford is one of the best movie stars of all time, and to see him in his prime in a movie that I'd never witnessed before was something extra special. But I love the way that Deckard just handles going after these replicants in a very cool, matter-of-fact way, but all the while you know that there's stuff boiling underneath the surface where he's just a human being who looks at the future of his world and what's going on right now, and he's starting to get a little conflicted, especially when you have the one replicant whose name escapes me, played by Sean Young,
Rachel.
where it's like,
Rachel.
yeah, it's like, oh my God, what's happening here? Is this the future of humanity? The cool thing about that movie, the scary thing about that movie to me is that it takes place in 2019. We're 2 years away, and a lot of that movie, I think we're right on pace to get there, and that's not necessarily a good thing. Not a lot of sunlight, that movie, Schnepp.
No. A lot of rain, a lot of flying cars, a lot of Atari. So
Yeah. Well, it's a noir. It's got to have rain and darkness, and that, you know, she's a femme fatale. He's a hardened, grizzled cop, you know, coming back to the thing. So yeah.
You know what else I love too are like the things that were trendy or popular in 1982 that still resonate. Like obviously you have like the Coca-Cola thing, but you also had the LA Iworks. And I like that it's like an actual place in Los Angeles, but you go in there and it's very different than just getting some glasses. So it's really cool. We are going to be doing a review of that on Schmoes. I'm going to try to recruit Schnepp, and I was going to ask you right after we get off Movie Talk, but I'll just ask you right now on camera to put you on the spot.
I'm on.
Yeah, rock on. Let's move on to live Twitter questions. Wendy Lee, kick Frosty out of his seat because Wendy Lee is our Twitter gatekeeper, and you guys can tweet us anytime at Collider Video. Wendy, you're here now. You made it. What are the kids talking
my way
about?
into this
Quite
seat.
the battle.
Yeah, it was quite the struggle, but I won at the end. Well, since you guys are seeing Back to the Future tonight, I thought this one would be fun. This question comes from Mike, and he writes, while the DeLorean is the perfect car to turn into a time machine, what modern vehicle in the form of car, cycle, and etc. would you use?
Prius. You got to think about this. Go ahead and have your little laugh. You got to think about this, okay? Maybe even a Tesla, because you want something. You know what's really hard to find in 1955 that they don't sell in every street corner? Plutonium. It's not that hard to get in 1985. So you get something that is going to be able to run on, sure, gasoline, but I would prefer something that you can charge electrically, like my Ford Fusion, or something that you can just rev up, like I think a Tesla. Tesla is the one that I would make a car that takes me back in time. Dennis, I hope you're as practical as I am.
Well, you stole my pick because I was going to say the Tesla, just because, not only because of the electricity factor, but it just looks like a futuristic looking car. But I actually wanted to go back and say, I hope you put this much thought and analysis that you did for Blade Runner when we do the Room commentary. When you see the Room for the first time, I hope you put on, you know, your filmmaking analysis.
Look, it's like I said for Blade Runner. I really was excited to see a movie star at their absolute apex, and I think Tommy Wiseau's finest work, from what I hear, is The Room. So
Yes.
I want to see one of the
So when we do
all-time
that
greats.
commentary, I hope you're just as sharp.
It'll be
on
like
that.
watching Jordan in the '96 finals. John Rocha,
Yep.
what car are you turning in, or vehicle? I'll give you the broad spectrum of a vehicle.
You're tearing me apart, Ellis. I would say the Bugatti. I love that damn car. I know it only goes 2 miles for every gallon, but like Absolutely love that car. Mayweather turned me on to that car watching his 24/7 shows, and I would love to put that in the future and drive that thing around. It's a beautiful damn car.
Schnepp, you tree hugging hippie. I'm gonna guess it's a VW bus.
Is either that or a Challenger.
Oh, you want something with a little muscle
Nice.
to it?
Tearing up the road, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gas guzzling, you know. That's what I'm doing.
All right, Ashley Mova, I'm going to throw it to you. You're going back in time, and you need to take a ride.
Yeah. Schnepp, I inhaled because I was going to say Challenger, but I will just say my dream car, a Mercedes G-Wagon, because, I
Oh.
mean, one in Rome, you know?
Okay, so now I guess we just have all the money in the world, thanks to this Twitter question, to spend on cars. Wendy, what car are you taking? What's your vehicle of choice?
Well, I mean, you guys took Tesla, which was my first choice, so I'm just gonna go with style. I'm gonna take a Lambo,
Ooh, yes, girl.
yellow Lambo.
Again, I don't know whose wallet is bankrolling this.
You were
Teslas aren't
using
that
your credit
cheap.
card,
I think the
Ellis.
problem with the Tesla is there's like a 3-year waiting list to get one, but I don't think they're the most expensive car. I'd like to get a Tesla. I hear they drive like a golf cart. Like as soon as you let off the gas, that thing stops.
As Mark Ellis said to me off camera, it's hypothetical. So we're not going
Right.
to be
Price
worried
is
about
no limit.
Yeah.
Ashley, you can have the Challenger.
Yeah.
I'm taking a Scion.
Oh, okay.
Made of
I'll take
pure
the
metal.
Challenger, okay.
All right,
Titanium.
fine. I'm taking a Batmobile. Next question.
Okay, this next one comes from Take 3 Productions, who writes, could we see an era where movie reviews fall to the wayside, given how hard studios try to hide spoilers until after the release?
Oh, dear God, I hope not. That's a dystopian future I don't want to be a part of. I think that movie reviews are actually, I'm not just saying that because it's one of the industries I'm in, but it's also, I think that they're more popular than ever now. And I don't think studios are ever going to be able to say you're not allowed to do this or that. We've had a lot of freedom of speech issues in the news the last week, and I think that anybody who has an opinion is able to get it out. Now, whether everybody wants to continue to abide by a studio embargo, which I think is a fair thing to do because that's how studios roll out their advertising. But most people, if you want to see a movie, you might not be lining up to see it Thursday night before it opens. You might wait until Friday or the weekend, or you have friends that have seen it that you can trust to give you a review, or you can read a review on the weekend that the movie comes out. So I think the Rotten Tomatoes is a great tool for the average moviegoer. I mean, Schnepp, what I always say is that I like to review movies because I like to entertain people, maybe get a chuckle or two, but I also just want people to know whether they should be spending their hard-earned lawn mowing money on going to see this movie or that movie.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I mean, I feel like for myself, when I read other critics' movie reviews, I'm going to go see the movie regardless. And I like to know what other people think of a film. I don't like spoilers, but I like to get a gauge. And I think that's always going to be the case. And I feel like any studios that are not going to allow people to see the film, especially critics, early, are afraid to release their film. For why? Because it's great? No, because it probably sucks. So I think that's always going to be the case. Whether or not, studios only let you review the movie the day before, that's probably a bad idea because you want to get that word of mouth. And the best way to get word of mouth is through people that you trust, i.e. critics. So.
Yeah, Dennis, the thing that I fear more than movie reviews not being a thing anymore is whether up-and-coming movie reviewers who are trying to get ahead in a very saturated game can still be honest with their audience as opposed to just trying to appeal to a studio.
Yeah, I think it is definitely a saturated area now, but people have different tastes, and so they can always find someone. So if someone new comes out that has tastes similar to you, or you agree with what they're saying, you can still connect with them. And I think movie reviewers will always be around because hypothetically, not like this will ever happen, but let's say the studios decide, hey, we're never going to show these movies early anymore. Still, people are going to review movies after they come out. The studios can't stop that from happening. And so, like Schnepp said, usually the only reason they're not going to show a movie early is because it sucks or it's terrible, because they want to get that buzz. They want people buzzing about it. Just like we had Frosty come here and talk about Blade Runner 2049. The reason why the social media embargo is lifted is because they want people talking about it, because they believe in it and they think it's a good movie and it's going to get more people hyped about it. And there's going to be a lot of people watching this, for example, Blade Runner 2049, that have not seen the original, and they're gonna go see this one just based on the good buzz.
Yeah, Rocha, as a man with questionable opinions and takes on movies, how do you feel about the future movie reviewing?
Just movies? I think it's a life in general.
Yeah, thanks, boys. Really appreciate it.
Hey, that's a great
Motivation
red
Wednesday.
shirt you're wearing today.
Thank you. No, well, listen, Take 3 Productions, I've been interviewed by them. I don't know why they'd ask a question like this. Why don't you just harikari online? It makes no sense. Of course we're going to want to do movie reviews. You just completely shut down your site. What's wrong with you? You can't live on Schmodown reviews alone, or reaction reviews alone.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
But no, I think we're always going to want that because we are all knowledgeable about movies because we've read movie reviewers growing up. So you have to remember, going back, when you become a lover of movies in your young age or teens or even your 20s, you seek out people who know how to analyze films well and give you new things to look at and new ways to look at old films and get the themes and the messages and the stories. And filmmakers want you to get that stuff. So I think it's never going to go out of style. It may become more honed or more particular, or more niche, but I don't think it's ever going to go out of style because analysis drives us in every business. It doesn't matter, entertainment or otherwise, analysis drives us because we want to know more. We're an inquisitive species. So to me, I don't think it'll ever go away.
That's right. A lot of comments about this question in the chat room. A couple of them are, don't worry, says the best YouTube review channel, the Movie Couple channel, which I would probably agree with. And then Captain Dingleberry writes, he's not going to let a tomato tell him what movie to see. I agree with that sentiment. You don't need to listen to anybody. He's just simply another person. I'm just an open receiver, okay? You don't have to throw the ball to me. I'm just letting you know I'm here if you need an opinion, but I will still tell jokes in front of a brick wall just in case everything collapses around me. Thank you guys for tuning in to this episode of Collider Movie Talk. We'll be back here at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning for another brand new episode chock full of movie news and jocularity. Joining me on the panel, thank you so much. Dennis Tzeng up first. Where can the kids find you?
Well, you guys can find me on Twitter @ThinkHero and on Instagram Dennis.tzng. And you also can find me next week in New York at New York Comic Con. Actually, I want to throw it out to you guys because we actually haven't decided yet on whether we're going to do a meet and greet.
Ooh.
So if you want to tweet at me, tweet at Mark, tweet at anyone here at Collider and give us your thoughts. If you're in New York or you plan on being in New York Comic Con, let us know if you are interested in having a meet and greet. We have a very limited amount of time, especially because these panels go so long. It's like goes to like 9 or 10 at night. If you guys are interested, let us know and maybe we can set something up.
All right. Well, John Rocha, you're also going to be in New York. I know that sometimes you love meeting the fans. You're not crazy about getting involved in conversations at Panera with them. So you will not be doing the meet and greet at a Panera or an Au Bon Pen in New York.
No, but you can find me at the IHOP in New York. Is there IHOPs in New York?
I hope there
I
is.
love pancakes.
Schnepp found a great diner that we ate at last time. That I met him up like Wednesday night. As soon as I got in there, he's like, hey, meet me this place around the corner. I crushed a stack of pancakes as high as the one that Donald Duck had in Mickey and the Beanstalk.
There we go. Okay, well, let's find a firehouse and do a pancake breakfast. I'm cool with that as a meet and greet. I love pancakes. Anyway, you guys can find me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. See all the shows I'm hosting and co-hosting, talking about. And today, I take over for Josh McCouga on TV Talk for the next 3 weeks. The man's out there to make himself an honest man this weekend. God love him. And so join me and Grace and Emma as we break down some news stories and talk about This Is Us.
Did Ernest over here actually just suggest a pancake breakfast for our meet and greet?
Yes.
That's why you love Teddy Roosevelt, because he was the first president that you got to meet in person. Jon Schnepp, where can the kids find you?
You can find me boning up on some Roosevelt knowledge over breakfast in New York. I'll also be in New York, and I think we should do our Collider meet and greet breakfast style, 7 in the morning. Let's get some grits in Manhattan, baby. But you know what else? You'll also find me at Ellis's comedy shows. I'm going to do a little poetry reading for y'all from my new book coming out, Isolated Mutations of the Assembly Line, baby. Hear it first. In between one of his crazy funny sets, I'll make you cry.
Slam.
Just kidding. It's not all about crying. And also, Heroes will be there. So we've got a full slate. I'm in the block. So if you're there walking the floor, come to my booth and get some of that flavor in the block area for New York Comic Con. I'm there all week. We'll be doing Collider stuff. It'll be a lot of fun. Watch Heroes later today at Twitter, Instagram, just at Jon Schnepp.
Ashley Moby, you'll be getting a lot of naps in, as I don't believe you're going to be in New York.
No.
Where can the kids find you?
You guys can find me watching the live stream in Los Angeles on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Ashley Moby. Happy Wednesday, guys.
And last but not least, part of the Movie Couple channel, Wendy Lee Zaney.
Yay! Well, you can find me at the Movie Couple channel on YouTube, at Wendy Lee Zaney on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat, and I will also be at New York Comic Con.
Rock on. I am Mark Ellis. I will also be at New York Comic Con. Like Jon Schnepp said, I will have some stand-up shows at New York Comedy Club Thursday night, 10:30 p.m., Friday night at 7 p.m. I'll be doing my headlining sets with special guests popping in, maybe gentlemen sitting to the right or to the left of me, as a matter of fact.
Oof.
You guys can get tickets at markellislive.com right now. Use promo code SCHMOES for a discount. Stay tuned right here to Collider Video for all the New York Comic Con coverage, as well as Movie Talk tomorrow, 9 a.m. Hey everybody, Mark Ellis here. Thanks for watching this episode of Collider Movie Talk. You want to watch more? Then click up here, or you can click right here for more great content from Collider. And if you haven't subscribed to Collider Video, do so right now and share this vid with your friends. Thanks for watching.